never fought us. Not us united.
Guy. Oh! I can so see that. That's it. Welcome to Comics League. I'm Jared, and today I'm gonna journey into some dangerous waters. So I recently finished reading Heroes in Crisis, and I will say this book is not as bad as people say it is. Like, not at all. So let's start off by saying, so this is basically the story. The tagline is, how does a superhero handle PTSD? It's the idea that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman created this facility called the Sanctuary, which is basically a therapy like camp, if you will, where superheroes can go completely anonymous and deal with their past trauma. Now, I get why some fans don't like this, particularly fans of Wally West, because of what happens to him. He has a mental snap, kills people, and tries to cover it up by blaming Booster Gold. But here's the thing, though. We're talking about a Wally West that came back and his family did not remember him or anything like that. So he has very good reason to be mentally unstable. See, that's the thing. I think that had the New 52 not completely eliminated this Wally West, not completely replaced him with Wallace West. In other words, had what happened to him not happened, I think this book would have gotten a better shakeup, and everyone been like, "Oh, this is actually cool." They gave him sort of a trauma story, but this book critically was doomed by the editorial decisions of Dan DiDio. But well, let me get into more about why I like this, because I've always liked stories where they make the superheroes a tad more relatable. Excuse me. And they did that by having these gods deal with very human struggles. And this is another reason why I like the Snyderverse, because Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they go through all these very human struggles. But in this book, all of them struggle with the mental trauma of everything that's happened to him, like Superman being punched to death by Doomsday, Batman's back being broken, and Jason Todd dying, Wonder Woman killing Maxwell Lord and such. So there's so much that has happened to these heroes where they should have realistically been mentally oh my gosh. And in this book, it showed that yes, in some ways they do have mental, they deal with the same issues you and I have. And even Superman says it doesn't make us any less heroes. All it does is it shows that it makes them even more heroes in my mind, because they can rise above this. So really, this book is really inspiration, saying you can rise above mental illness to in other words, you can endure. In other words, is what the basic message of this book. And that's really what it is. And it manages to have a story about Booster Gold be pretty cool, because he typically does not get that much attention. But it's just the thing I like about this is that, again, I want to repeat this point because it's very important. It humanizes these superheroes, and that's the thing that sometimes DC struggles with, because they do have this gods amongst men stature, and doing stuff like this actually does humanize. It puts them through very human struggles, and that's partly why Marvel and the MCU has been popular, besides just flooding the market with stuff, is that people can relate to the MCU heroes more than they can the DC heroes for this reason. And I feel like this is another example of my problem with certain segments of comic book fandom, because they don't want these heroes to be able to attract a larger audience. They want it to stay in, Superman has to stay in the Silver Age commonality, because that's the way he was when I read him. Well, just because he was that way when you read him doesn't mean that's the right way to do Superman. It's my same feeling with Lois Lane. By the way, this book has one of the most egregious parts of Lois Lane. She publishes the stuff for the book, for the she publishes a story about sanctuary and stuff, but I'm like, I get that she did like take out the names and stuff, but still, I'm just like, it doesn't sit well with me. I'm like, you still shouldn't do it, because guess what could happen? Okay, so the reason why she publishes the story is that someone has been leaking these tapes online, and so she figures we'll get the story out first and control the narrative. There's only one problem with that logic. You have Cyborg. Just have him plug into the internet. Hey, Vic, anything that has the words, a keyword search, anything with sanctuary, eliminate it. That's it. You're done. Problem solved. It's not being published anymore. You're done. In other words, nothing in the story it needed her publishing the story about superheroes dealing with this. And that's my issue here. And that's my issue with Lois Lane in this book, in addition to all my other issues with Lois Lane. But I don't want to turn this into a Lois Lane rant. But all in all, Heroes in Crisis is actually a really good DC storyline. And I recommend that you all read it. It's actually really cool. It does a lot of interesting stuff with these superheroes. It humanizes them. And I guess it's interesting to see the superheroes actually dealing with all this trauma that has piled on years after years after years after years from all the different incidents that they went through, but it didn't break them. What this story really says is, look at all that these characters have gone through, and it hasn't broken them. That should give you even more God's like level consideration of like the Trinity and the Justice League. That's why I think that Tom King's Heroes in Crisis is probably his best written book, and is a love letter to the DC, to the Justice League and the DC superheroes, because of what they're able to overcome. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Try not to roast me in the comments, and be civil, and like, comment, subscribe, and let me know down there. Do you guys like? Am I the only one that likes Heroes in Crisis? Do you guys agree with some of my reasoning? Why don't you like Heroes in Crisis if you hate it? And again, be civil. But anyway, see you next week. Bye-bye.